Hi, everyone. It's Michelle Jackson, and I am here tonight to talk with another amazing author from the Black Writers Workspace. We have LaShawnda Jones. She is the author of a collaboration that I'm so excited to talk about. It is called I Am Woman Expressions of Black Womanhood in America. Wow. Just think about that expressions of Black womanhood in America. We're going to talk about her book. We're going to talk about different things that she's working on. We're going to get to know her. She is a part of the Black Writers Workspace community. She is an author who is rolling out so much great material. But she's not just an author, she's also a photographer, and she's into real estate, and she's doing so many amazing things like so many women, so many of us do. We get involved in so many different things, and I am so excited to have her here so that she could share with us her experiences writing this book all about Black women and our role and the things that we go through um, in this country. And this is going to be a very important conversation to have. So let's welcome her to the screen right now. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Michelle. I'm well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you so much for being with us on the Black Writers Workspace. This is what we call our on screen series, but it's also a podcast. So this is going to show on Facebook Live, on Spotify, on YouTube, on Instagram, and we're going to have you everywhere. And for those of you who are wanting to share this with your friends and family, please do so right now. Go into the actual post and share it so that we can optimize the number of people that are viewing. Also, subscribe to our YouTube page, follow us on our private group on Facebook, or follow my page on Author Michelle D. Jackson on Facebook so that you can see this post if you're not a part of the Black Writers Workspace Facebook page. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And I just started a TikTok page. Now, I'm no good at it. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what I'm doing. But my son is
Keep
15 and
learning.
he has, yeah, he's already called me lame, which I'm okay with that. I'm like, I can be lame. but but I am trying to work all the social media platforms because I want to make sure that our authors are getting the exposure that you deserve to get. So, LaShawnda, tell us about yourself and tell us about your work.
Um, First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really happy to be here. It's been a while since I've done any interviews for my work. It's been a while since I've released something, so this is exciting all the way around. But a great introduction because you sort of span a lot of what I do and photography, real estate. I'm new to real estate last couple years, but I've been writing and self-publishing for about 16 years now.
Mhm.
So my latest project was my sixth project, and it's the first project that I published my own photography in. So it's
Mm.
special to me, not just for focusing on Black women and learning a lot about myself in the process, but also getting into a different type of creative space with my publishing and my creative, process. So I consider myself an author, photographer, and publisher. Those are my main describers, I think, the way that I view myself and my work. And I believe I'm a observer for life and a learner for life. And as long as I'm always in a space where I'm open to learn and open to explore options and opportunities, I think it'll be a great life, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, you're a writer, so you're already having a great life. I love that. We are pouring our heart out through the pen
Absolutely.
and trying to connect with people and trying to share our experiences. And I know that your process for writing the book, I Am Woman, was just that. It was a process.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about what the book is about as in a whole, overall. What is the book about? And tell us about your process for getting the work done.
So I Am Woman, Expressions of Black Womanhood in America, is this. I call it a tribute and a celebration to Black women in general. And the goal of it was to find out what Black women think of themselves. That was the premise. That was just very simple. And the idea was that we are told who we are at every stage of life. There's no space we can enter where people don't have an already preconceived negative idea of who a Black woman is, right? So within our family, within our neighborhood, within our schools, within our workspace. We are always this negative something, right? And not worthy of anything better than what the world wants to give us. And so, one of the catalysts, there are a couple of catalysts actually, but one was, and I hope I don't mispronounce her name, Chalicia Clark, when she was attacked by police officers in a Waffle House in Alabama, and the way that not only the police officers treated her by throwing her around and basically burying her breasts in a public space and basically choking her, chokehold, all this, putting full-grown male bodies on top of her, all this because she asked for utensils to eat her food with. Blows my mind. And that's not the worst part. The worst part to me is that the restaurant was apparently full and no one said a word. And I can't for the life of me imagine the same thing happening to a white woman or any other woman and people not at least saying, yo, man, wait a minute, you're being too rough. Bro, ease up. Like they would say something. The people in that video kept on eating like nothing was happening. And that just blew my mind and broke my heart in so many different ways. Because, I mean, it just says a lot about how we're perceived and how we're treated in this country in that one episode. And so shortly after that, I sort of started reaching and just started thinking, okay, well, I know how the world sees us. Like I'm so sick of how the world sees us. But how do we really see ourselves? You know, do we think that we're unworthy enough to be treated in the way that the world is treating us? And the joy of my life at this moment is hearing how Black women describe themselves, right? That's literally the joy of my life right now. I'm really going to tear up because another catalyst was just growing up with the hypersexualization of Black female bodies. You know, if we're not on screen, showing our butts, showing our breasts, dipping, twerking, you know, rounding everything off, you know, we're not allowed on screen. But like that's the purpose for us to be on screen is to expose ourselves or to degrade ourselves or to allow ourselves to be degraded, right? And it's gotten to a point now with entertainment that it's hard for me to even watch any violence against women in movies and TV because the violence against us is so egregious. It's mind-boggling if you just start noticing. Like, you know, I saw a movie recently, last weekend actually, where they were literally two grown men, two assassins were about to trying to kill this Black woman. She was pregnant, 6 months pregnant out here. They're throwing her around, beating her up. And I'm like, where else? I mean, where do we see pregnant white women get beat up on TV as a commonplace thing? Like there's no value whatsoever. And so I wanted to combat that. I wanted to put something out into the world where it's not us being beaten, it's not us being raped, it's not us being just degraded or hated or, you know, just destroyed. And it's not us being sexualized. It's just us being us. You know, it's just who are you as a woman? And that was the question. And the words that came back.
So let's talk about that because I feel like, you know, everything that you said means speaks to me in so many different ways because I don't think enough people are asking us as Black women, how do we feel?
Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you feel when you look at a video and there is a young girl on there who could be your daughter who is dancing and she's had nude and everybody is, you know, looking at her and how do you feel, you know, when you see women, Black women being beaten by police officers? How do you feel when you hear things about Black women like we're angry, we're hostile, you can't work with us? How do we feel? No one is asking that question, and that's what made your book so intriguing to me because it says I am woman, and you make no assumptions about who each individual person is. You let them tell their own stories because we do have our own individual stories. We do have our own ideas about what womanhood is. And but no one asked. I just always think about Zero Neale Hurston, who said that the Black woman is the mule of the world, the mule of the world. And in many ways, you know, the struggles that we have are very reflective of the fact that we are looked at in that low place. But
Mhm.
yet, we are Black women and we are strong. And
We are very,
so I feel like, so many of us are raising our families and running businesses and doing
mhm.
all kinds of things. And so the strength is there, but it does not take away from the fact that we need more people, I think more men, to step in and acknowledge
Yeah,
that we are good, not to validate us, but to help spread the word that Black women are angry, we are beautiful just the way we are. You don't have to do nothing crazy in my head and make me beautiful. I'm just beautiful. And I think, those are the things that, we need to do more of. But
yeah.
talk to us about the words that you heard. This, when you asked that question, because I saw your videos, you went around, you talked to women about it. What were some of the key words? And then I want you to wrap up by telling me, what is your word? I am woman.
Okay, so the most common words was either love or love related. So love, self-love, me was a powerful word for me. One woman just said, I'm me,
Mhm.
nothing to add. you know, strong or strength was
Mhm.
probably the most common. Um, power, powerful, authentic, worthy. Like there, I think there were over 50 women that I spoke with throughout this process, and not one woman said beautiful or sexy. Like that was
Mm.
not, and that sort of shocked me because I'm a product of the country too. you know. But beauty and sexy, the way that we are either categorize all women are, it's like if you're beautiful or this thing, then we can talk about you. But not one woman. It was creative. It was, worthy. It was just amazing character-driven words, I believe.
Mhm.
A mother, child, daughter of God was one. There ended up being a very strong theme of sisterhood and motherhood. Um,
Mhm.
and and the harder I tried to separate the women who were identifying first as mothers, the, it was just hard to sort of get some women to sort of see themselves as just themselves, right?
Mhm.
And so that was a struggle in the process because some women didn't see themselves at first as anything other than one, what they were told that they were, which was what I'm trying to combat, and two, where they saw the most value, which was motherhood, right?
Mhm.
And so just trying to get around that. And so, and not to say that it's not valuable, obviously it is, but one of the things that I learned, actually, let me say this. So in the process of trying to get around the women around the descriptors of mother, right? Um, was trying to figure out, well, what would my own mother say about herself, right?
Mhm.
My mother died when I was 20. So I didn't come into my womanhood with my mother and her ideas of womanhood. And so this book actually took me into that introspective spiritual space of trying to identify who my mother was and if I even knew her, right? Because she died when I was rather young. And before I could apply my lessons of life as a woman to my relationship with her. And so I learned a lot in that space with even my memories of my mom and just growing through that. So, but what I will say about my own words, because I was trying to think of if I'm just on an elemental level, who am I as a woman? And I sort of broke my own rule. I didn't pick one word. I was trying to force people to
It's
say the one
hard.
word, and I didn't. But it's hard, and I got quite a few phrases. But my two words were light and salt, and that
Mm.
comes from just my, just it comes from my own biblical studies, my own belief, and the fact that we're told that we will be the light of the world, right?
Mhm.
And we're admonished not to be anything other than salt, to just add spice to everything that we do. And so, especially with this product or the project and the product, I want it to be both light and salt.
I think you are making the case to prove that you are light and salt, because this was a very important work. It asked a question that, like I said, most of us don't get an opportunity to answer. And what I like about what you said takes me to a question that I had, or just something I was thinking about when I was going through your information before this interview, is that it seems like you're the type of person who wants to honor the whole self of a woman, the whole self.
Yes.
And this is a dynamic feat because of something that you said, which is that when we are asked who we are, when I say I own multiple, a couple of companies, and I write
Mhm.
books, and
Yeah.
I am a business advisor, and I'm all these things, and then I say I'm a wife and a mother,
Hmm.
I get things like, oh, you're doing so much.
Hmm.
Oh, it's like it becomes almost a badge of dishonor to
Yeah.
have to be more complex as a person. It's okay,
Hmm.
sometimes if men are that complex, if he's got a lot of things going on,
Oh,
but for
of
women,
course.
we are
Yeah.
supposed to be, pretty solid, pretty clean in who we are, and typically that title is wife, mother.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
acceptable. Wife, mother. But when you say businesswoman, author, photographer, real estate, all those things begin to create
Yeah.
somewhat of get a negative response, because we shouldn't be that complicated, but we are
Yeah.
complicated. We are complicated, and we don't have to be one thing. My whole self is
Yeah.
not just mother, daughter, I mean, mother, wife. My whole self is
Yeah.
everything that I do, everything that I love. And so
Yeah.
that's why I love you asking the question, I am, and leaving it blank for them
Hmm.
to feel what that is, because we are so many different things. We're not
We
just one thing. So that's
Yeah.
beautiful that
Yeah.
you approached it from that perspective. What kind of response have you had
As far,
from your readers?
I'm still waiting for responses actually. So I mean, there's the women who participated and they, saw early copies. Um, Very encouraging,
Mhm.
to, as far as like their excitement to be part of the project. But I've been urging people to do reviews on Amazon. I can't say that I've gotten one yet. So I'm hoping
Well,
that people will eventually will. Um, but yeah, the things people say are encouraging, but I haven't had it in words. So
mhm,
obviously I'm a
mhm.
word person.
Oh, I am too. I understand. And you will. They will come. When did you release the book?
And June. It was released on June 19th, actually. Yeah.
So it's very new. And
Hmm.
so you're going to pick up, a lot of reviews. I've read through it. I think it's very good. I love that we get this opportunity to talk about it early,
Yes.
because I want to talk to you probably in another year to see how other people have responded to it. I think that,
Right.
you got me thinking about the words that I heard growing up. What
Hmm.
words did you hear, and how did it how did it evolve into the words that you came up for yourself, which are strong words? But did you hear
Hmm.
strong words about what was your I am as a young girl?
So what's really interesting. So I think I have a solid base of self-esteem, and I think that it's something that I've been working on for most of my life, at least since as far as I can remember, the age of 10. And I see it as something that I work on myself, more so than something that someone sort of helped me build, right? And actually, in the writing of this book, I sort of realized that my mom, even in the absence of some of her words, was actually doing the building.
Mhm.
And so, the words I heard were not necessarily from her. They were critical words. And the
Mhm.
ones that stick in mind is too black, too ugly, too skinny, too nappy headed, right? Um, and I credit these words to one of my aunts by marriage. And she's also the person who told me, you're all that, but you're not a nigger.
Mm.
So, so I tell people like nigger is not a word that I use in any type of way. I don't like speaking it, writing it, hearing it, any of that, because the person who had the most negative words for me in life said I was all that, but I wasn't that.
Mm.
Right. And that's been a powerful thing for me. My mom, on the other hand, when I would go to her and tell her what my aunt was saying to me about me, would just look at me and say, well, are you?
Mm.
And I'm like, well, no. And she goes, well, what's the problem? You know? So in her, you know, it was, well, are you, or what are you? You know, so she let me fill that in. And for most of my life, well, up to the writing of this, the you know, work here, I just assumed my mom wasn't contributing to that self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, according to what you said, you know, just going by, you know, allowing someone to fill in the word for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what she did. She was
And
like,
yes, she did a powerful thing for you, though.
yeah,
she
didn't tell me yes or
Mm-hmm.
no. Well, what are you? Do you think you're that? No, I don't. Well, what's the problem?
Yeah.
And that's
And you know, and I feel like she probably did that because she knew that as life goes on, the words are going to probably get more critical before they get more kind. And so instead of trying to, you know, I mean, there's so many ways to build up a person's self-esteem. You don't always have to sit in a room and just say, you're so beautiful, you're so beautiful, you're so, you know, a lot of people say you do that. I think you definitely should tell your girls that they are beautiful. But you also have to get them to better understand what true beauty is and define it for themselves, and understand that you're not here to please everybody either. That what one person may think isn't beautiful, another person will think it is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
and so we stop tying all of our own confidence and self-respect to someone else's ideas and trying to be validated so much by other people. I've had people tell me over the years, you have such great confidence. And I'm like, I don't really agree with that. I grew up, you know, my I was the same. I was very skinny. It was, you're too skinny.
Yeah.
Your ears are too big.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I've heard it all as well. You know, you're cute, but you're not pretty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so you hear these things and you begin to, you have to make a decision. Am I going to believe it?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I going to write my own story, write my own narrative?
Absolutely.
And when you do that, you get so much more power from it. I'm not perfect. I don't care to be perfect. I'm happy with who I am, and I've learned to kind of accept that. But a lot of women, we are struggling with our self-esteem.
Yeah.
Even at, I'm 47. Even as you, I mean, it doesn't matter your age, because you've had so many people to tell you so many unkind things about yourself.
Absolutely.
And so that's why it's so powerful that you wrote this book and that you had other women to talk about it. Give us a little anecdote. Give us a little bit about one of the stories in the book that really helped you to see yourself differently.
Scabs. So Scabs is written by Abina Amoa. She's Ghanaian. I'm not sure how long she's been in the United States, but she's currently living in New York City. And she sort of wrote in, I did an open call for pieces, for poetry, essays, whoever someone wanted to contribute as far as literature goes. And she sent in poems in an essay titled Scabs. And Scabs is basically her story of sexual abuse, her childhood rape by different men. And she names the men A, B, and C, I believe. And the story that she shares sort of goes up to a point where she met a man that she wanted to have a relationship with, and eventually, I think, had a child with. But she wasn't even then able to understand the concept of actual relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Like she was still, it's the story of the scab. It's like, even though she's trying to heal and have this thing cover up in a healthy way, it keeps pulling off. And she keeps seeing the damage, and the damage keeps seeping back into her life. And I wasn't sure I wanted to include it. I wanted to include that particular essay because it's so powerful, and because I thought that it would add an element that I didn't necessarily want to cover in this project. But several other women wrote about sexual assault. Mm-hmm. And I have my own history of being sexually violated. And I had written about that in the past, and I thought I was trying to move on from that. But because it's expressions of Black womanhood in this country, I realized that I couldn't gloss over that in the volume where I'm talking about how we are resilient and how, despite being violated in our own homes, in our own communities, in our own spaces, we continue to move forward, we continue to grow, we continue to thrive in life in ways that our attackers just couldn't destroy us enough to prevent, right?
Yeah. Well, that's remarkable.
Yeah.
When the case against R. Kelly came out, there was a lot of data that came out about the number of Black girls who are assaulted.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's so high, no one wants to even deal with it because it's almost like sitting your sisters and your cousins, lining them up on the wall and counting every so many assaults. Every so many. Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to accept that because we want to, first of all, we don't want to accept that these things are happening in the home where we're supposed to be safe.
Where we're supposed to be safe, exactly.
Right. And we don't want to accept that a lot of the sexualization of our young girls
happens
just it happens there, it starts there, and it continues. And people think it's just who we are. Like we talked about the videos and the abusing Black women in movies. It's becoming part of our story too much that no one wants to deal with. And I'm glad that you changed your mind about that and was willing to deal with it, because I do these interviews all the time and I am amazed at the things that I hear. Our people, we are struggling, but we are also using the power of the pen to tell our stories and to literally just exercise those demons in us, to deal with these things that have happened. So it's a beautiful thing that you gave women an opportunity to say those things. But also what's so beautiful is that we're still strong. It did not break us. It did not, it didn't. I mean, we were raped in the fields for years. I sometimes, when you talk about strength, you cannot help but to think about Black women raped as slaves, had our babies taken from us, abused, made to feel ugly because of the color of our skin, and yet we have a Black woman in the White House, and yet we have, you know what I'm saying, and yet we have all these amazing Black women doing all this amazing stuff. And and when you say strength, it should be like a sister sitting in a dictionary like this, because that is exactly what that strength is. It's us. We are strong. We are strong and we are beautiful. And it's amazing. We are still so strong as African American women, and that is amazing. So we're going to wrap up. We're giving you an opportunity to speak to our writers. First and foremost, we always ask the question of, did you self-publish your book or were you traditionally published?
Self-published. So I've self-published all my books. I started with the vanity presses where you have to print like so many copies and so forth. And for the last couple of projects, I've been with a print on demand, which I like a lot better.
Okay, good. And I know your book just dropped, so of course we want to see the book. Do you have it with you? You have a copy of it with you?
I have a copy right here. So this is it. Can you see it?
Yes. Excellent. Excellent. We do ask everyone to go out and purchase LaShawnda Jones' book. This is an important read. She is dealing with something that is so pivotal, so important to our culture, and that is dealing with how we as Black women see ourselves. And I'm so happy that you took this on as a project, because I'm happy to hear that it's us dealing with our own issues about, our past, our life, our confidence, and all those things. So thank you so much, LaShawnda. I so welcome you to continue to be a part of the Black Writers Workspace, and continue to just share what you're doing in the world, continue to write.